Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. My name's Henry Majed. I'm Partnerships Director at the Innovation Gateway, and it's a real privilege to represent the Innovation Gateway this afternoon. And I'm particularly delighted that we are joined by three of our partners from Tesco, Royal Bank of Scotland, and Nottingham City Council. And over the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to explore some of the biggest challenges that we face as owners and occupiers and managers of buildings, and share how the partners have been working together in a new, powerful approach to be able to address this at scale. So first of all, let's get a feel for the room. Hands up if you're a owner or occupier. Give me a wave. Any owners and occupiers? Okay. If you're a innovator or PropTech. Okay. Any agents, managing agents amongst us? Okay, good mix. And investors. Anyone from the investment community? Brilliant. So we can see that there's a huge amount of experience within the room and expertise, but we don't know what we don't know. How do you leverage the collective knowledge and strength of multiple organisations and bring them together to be able to transform the performance of their buildings at scale? How do you innovate if you're not a large organisation with the luxury of budget and time and resource to be able to manage the costs and risks? And how about if you are? How do you lower the cost and risk of finding and adopting innovation? And how do you ensure that you're finding the best practices, those breakthrough innovations that will really work for you? These were some of the challenges that we were tackling as we developed and created the Innovation Gateway with our partners. And the Innovation Gateway is an alliance of leading organisations who are all working together to reduce the operational costs, the risks and environmental impacts of their buildings and the built environment. And they're doing this at scale, by sharing experience, by sharing best practice, by sharing performance data that spans different diverse industries, and working together to find the innovations that will really make breakthroughs for them. The partners include Tesco, Royal Bank of Scotland, Nottingham City Council, Heathrow, Kingfisher, Unite Students, Places for People, Birmingham University, Green King, and a number of others. And I'm thrilled that we're joined by three of our partners this afternoon, and they will be sharing some of their experiences within the Gateway, the challenges they've found, and some of the tremendous outcomes they've been able to deliver. So let me invite each of the partners to take a minute or so to introduce themselves and their organisation.
Thanks, Henry. So, Wayne Bexton, Head of Energy at Nottingham City Council. We are probably the leading local authority in and around energy and operate somewhere between the public and private sector. So we're in a kind of unique space in how we've commercialised some of what we're doing in and around energy. So significant assets that we own. We have an investment portfolio of assets, not just in Nottingham, but also up and down the country, so nationally, and making those efficient from an energy sustainability perspective and linking them into the smart city agenda has been a real crucial ask for us. The additional remit that we have is as the Midlands Energy Hub. So for the West and East Midlands, Nottingham's now acting as a hub to try and upskill 9 local enterprise partnership areas right from the Welsh border to East Coast. So we've got a significant ask and offices located remotely. And again, we're tapping into the large amount of public sector owned premises and assets in looking at innovations and working with the Innovation Gateway to source best practice from industry. I think just very finally, our kind of key element or key requirement for joining the Gateway was we weren't getting from public sector collaboration, we weren't getting those key innovations. We wanted to join with other partners like we've got here today to see what was going on a national perspective. So private sector leaders in sustainability and absolutely being part of the Gateway's helped us source numerous innovations that have saved us money but also tackled our carbon emissions as well.
Hi, I'm Jo Saunders. I'm the Innovation Programme Manager for Royal Bank of Scotland and NatWest. We've been involved with the Innovation Gateway now for the best part of 5 years. So we were the first company to join. The reason we started was because we just set our 2020 target, our environmental targets, and we were just trying to understand what else was out there. So instead of using our normal supply chain, our contractors, it was trying to think a little bit out of the box and what can we do. You know, as Henry said, we don't know what we don't know. So we worked with the Innovation Gateway for a number of years solely, looking at various different activities, so whether it was reducing water, energy, waste, paper, just literally our carbon footprint. You know, we have numerous buildings across the UK and worldwide. The great thing is in 2017 we created the Gateway Partnership and the Alliance, and we invited other partners to come and join us, and that has been a really successful programme and has benefited us so much. So having done a number of trials over the years, it's been great that I've been able to share my experiences with both partners and all the guys. But also now we're finding that we can really lean on each other to share our knowledge as well, so it's been a really good investment.
Thanks, Jay. Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Conroy. I'm the Engineering Director for Tesco Group. That's Asia, Central Europe and the UK. For us, we've obviously got some considerable environmental targets that we're signed up to. And we've been extremely good at taking some of the existing technology and making it commercial, and then going across our organisation, because it's quite large and there's a lot of scale. But we're at a point now where we need some new innovation. So for us, it's about how do we start to collaborate with other industries to try and identify either best practice or to get somebody to help us source some new innovators, so we can see some new ideas coming through that will help us.
Great, thank you. So we will spend around 10 minutes or so with some questions, just to set the context and understand some of the experiences work the partners have done. And then we'll open the floor up to questions. So if you get thinking about the questions that you'd like to share with the partners around their experience, what they've done, ideas that have really worked for them, then please do share those. So just to share the context and some of the things that I've picked up from conversations today and over recent weeks has been that it's really difficult to source and select and validate innovation. Across the partner group, where have you seen some of those challenges in managing innovation in your organisations?
I think from a Nottingham perspective, Henry, I think we've, so it's kind of leading on from what I mentioned really. So public sector, we're sourcing innovations to a certain degree, but there was a challenge around those next steps. So with elected members, we're in an arena where there's a relatively low risk appetite. So when we're looking at innovations, we needed that external qualification that it's going to succeed, it's going to do exactly what we set out to deliver. An example of a recent innovation we've been able to successfully contract on the back of the Innovation Gateway, something called HexCam. So Nottingham, we've got the largest district heating network in the country, and on that district heating network we've got 5,000 domestic customers and around about 200 commercial customers, including Capital One, Coca-Cola, so some significant businesses in and around Nottingham. There's around about 40 kilometres of district heating pipework that runs around the city that's of a considerable age, and we were running a maintenance schedule to feed that into those buildings and properties that was costly and wasn't targeted. So through the gateway we'd put this forward as a significant risk to us financially, and also something we needed to innovate in. And we ended up using drone technology. So we had drones flying thermal imagery of all our network, and very quickly identified the hotspots on the network that were leaking energy and where we had lost heat. And we were able to, again, get our engineers out to do those target interventions and target maintenance. That saved us a significant amount of money, to the tune of around about £100,000 per annum, for an innovation that cost us around about 10k to implement. There was a slight concern at the outset of that, just as we dropped the letters on doormats saying residents may see drones and not to report UFOs. We'd got all the Heathrow and then Gatwick drones, so residents were inundated with drone stories, but thankfully no one rang the police and we were able to get on with it. But the booklet and the brochure produced by HexCam was fantastic, and we're going to do that each year. The data that builds up as far as the flows of energy, where we've got losses, where we've delivered maintenance, is giving us a real intelligent map of the city, and also allowing us to expand that heat network, which is has a massive role to play in decarbonisation of core cities in the UK, as referenced by government. So I think that's one of the key innovations we've been able to source and validate through the gateway.
Joe and Kevin, can you share any of the challenges that you've seen in this journey?
So I think for me the biggest challenge has been trying to get that buy-in internally. you know, for our FMs, and I imagine for the majority of you guys as well, they are really busy. You know, they are looking after numerous different buildings. So when you're talking about different trials and testing things, they're not so keen. They want to go with the safe route and you know, don't necessarily want to take the risk. So it's around trying to get that encouragement. And for those ones, it's about the simplest of trials can sometimes have the most benefit. So we did a very simple one with a company called Endotherm. It's an additive that you put in your radiators, but we saw a brilliant reduction in our energy costs of about 30%, 35%. Very simple. Our repairs and maintenance guys could carry it out, and straight away it's like, oh, okay, that was quite easy. Okay, I'm quite interested now. So it's trying to sell those internal stories where we have had some great successes. Sometimes it is the simplest things that have the greatest benefit, but it's the internal buying that I think will always be a challenge, but I think the way it's moving and some of the stories now we're sharing through our partners is definitely helping that conversation.
And Kevin, do you have anything to add on the challenges? You have different challenges, I imagine.
Yeah, our challenges is scale. How do we find suppliers who can work across 3,500 shops or across 33 distribution centres? And how do we help some of the smaller innovators and support them to, they've got a really great idea, it's a great cost, but again, we've got procurement rules where we don't want to be too big as a percentage of the sales. And how do we support those guys to grow so that then we can get the solution that we want? And a simple one for us is semi-waterless urinals. We went against full waterless urinals because of the cleaning and the cleaning regime, and you've got 3,500 shops, you've got all the cleaners in different locations, and you need something that's simple to work. And in the end, we found a company I know that Joe had tried, and they had some issues with it. And but from those learnings, we were able to save ourselves about 1 billion litres of water a year. So little things like that can make a difference.
So we've picked a couple of examples here. Endotherm, I know that, Joe, you tried at RBS, and then Heathrow were able to pick up and build on that data and be able to roll that out across some of their terminals, which they wouldn't otherwise have been able to get access to. You've shared the waterless urinals that RBS developed, and Tesco also have rolled out to great success. Are there any other examples across the group that we can share where, I mean, sometimes we talk about the power of many and using the collective strength of the partnership. What are some of the examples where you've been able to share and learn with each other to do things or maybe not do things?
I think a really good one at the moment, actually, so it's quite handy you guys being here. So I've been talking to Wayne recently about PV. So we've got a number of buildings that have got PV, probably not running the solar panels at the full capacity they should be. Wayne's team have done an amazing job with PV and have really seen a return on investment that's, you know, we didn't think we would see. So we're now consulting with these guys. On the other side, I've got Tesco, who's done a massive rollout of LED lighting that we're now starting to do. We've done it in most of our offices, but for our branches, it's slightly different. So, you know, we're talking to these guys who have kind of already been through the pain and found the right suppliers and the right way to do it, and just giving us those general ideas about how to challenge and around procurement and things like that have been invaluable. Another great example for us was one of the benefits. We had an innovation that shall not be named, that we probably wouldn't have gone along with if we'd spoken to one of the other partners. So they hadn't joined at the time, but we both had very similar experiences where they just weren't ready. They sold us a pitch that didn't go particularly well, and then it was just hard work when it was in. And if we'd had that conversation previously, we probably would have gone, actually, no, we're not going to go with it, and not had the pain of the trial. So you cannot take away from the fact that that experience and that talking with these guys and the other partners is just so invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, absolutely, and that goes for Nottingham as well, and what we've been able to glean from the other partners has been fantastic. It's also really assisted us in putting submissions together. So within Nottingham, we've been really good at gleaning on or pulling in European funds and central government funds, grant funding to innovate and to take a little bit of a risk, because we have got those grant funds coming in. And one of those projects has been a vehicle to grid pilot. So this is where utilising building and building space for maximum benefit and potential commercial returns comes in. So what we have is solar PV on rooftops in and around our depot and some of our business units. We have a central battery located alongside those units of about 1 megawatt in scale, and we have an electric vehicle fleet at each of those sites. So if you've got anything above a 20 vehicle fleet and it transforms to electric, you can pretty much run this kind of technology. The vehicles typically come back at the end of the day with 20-30% charge still in those batteries in the vehicle. They decharge into the central battery, which is being topped up by solar PV, and then we can do trade with grid at peak time, 6-7 o'clock in the evening, and generate an income from that method. Obviously the vehicles then charge up again through the night. And bouncing that idea, particularly off Tesco colleagues, but also Joe and others around the battery storage, how that complements some of what the building demands are, has been particularly rewarding. Again, the whole project's cost about £3 million. About half of that's come from Interreg Northwest Europe, but it's making commercial returns. So the big selling point for us, and what we always link back to the Innovation Gateway, is we've got a carbon neutral requirement by 2028. That's what our elected members have gone for, and a lot of core cities are declaring a climate emergency. And if we can source innovations and reference the Gateway and get validation from partners like Tesco, RBS, all the better for us getting on and delivering projects.
An example for it, a bit boring, it's solar PVs. We've committed to have 10% of our energy to be renewable on site. So if you think in the UK, we're about 1% of national grid in usage, about 2 terawatts of energy. We need 10% to be on site renewable, and we're struggling for roof space. We reckon 900 roofs is probably not enough. So for us, through Innovation Gateway and then working with Wayne and some of Wayne's guys, we're looking at car parks and do we do something in car parks, and how do you go about it? So because we've got significant challenges of how we deliver that by 2030, and we're going to be doing like 100 stores by end of 2020. So we're on that journey now. So again, it's about learning technically and not making those mistakes.
I think as well, just to add, we had a knowledge share session the other week, so it was just discussing with the partners, not so much about innovations on its own, it's actually how do we implement them, and how do we get that buy-in from our people, and what's the best route and that kind of thing. And actually that was a really useful session as well, because some people don't know where to start, or they don't know how to talk to the business for them to understand what we're trying to do, and the risk and that kind of thing. So actually just having that general discussion, I think has really helped a lot of people, especially new partners that are coming on.
So one of the interesting things that the partners go to great lengths to emphasise for us when they come on board is how different they are. So we're a retailer, we're completely different. You won't have worked with anyone like us before. We're an airport, we're completely different. You won't have worked with us. We're a university, we're a hotel chain, we're a hospital, we're many different things. And then you go in, you meet them, you understand what it is they're trying to do, what the big costs and risks and impacts are, and eventually it will emerge that it turns out you have a lot more in common than you potentially do different. In many cases, it will be 28 million people walking through the door to buy their bread, milk or bananas, or to pick up their flight, or to do something else. And something that we see time and time again is the partners realise that actually, potentially we're a shopping centre with a runway, or we're a shopping centre with beds, or we're a shopping centre with lecture theatres and chemistry labs. And in some cases, when they come together at a pitch day, they'll sit in a pitch that they're not expecting to be interested in. And the dialogue between the partners across different industries suddenly spikes something that says, actually, we are very similar to your organisation in this respect. We'd never thought about taking this kind of technology and using it inside our organisation. Or actually, we're not really able to fly drones over our buildings because we have planes as well, and that's a problem. But perhaps we can learn from some of the pilots the other partners have done. Are there any examples where we've found unexpected alliances or unexpected common ground across the partners?
I think a key one for us, and I got some feedback from the team who'd been to some of the sessions Joe mentions, was around our own pilot of Energy Sprong. So some people have heard of that in the room. So a kind of deep retrofit of domestic properties. We've got around about 30,000 Nottingham City homes properties, and when looking at their kind of sustainability, their longer term value, and we brought the concept of Energy Sprong over from European partners, and we've delivered that in a pilot of 10 properties, and it had a fantastic effect. The big problem we had was it was also tremendously expensive. So for a domestic dwelling, it was around about £80,000 to deliver those interventions required, and you can nearly build new for that. What we've committed to, and shared some of this with the partners, is a continued rollout of the Energy Strong concept. Again, gleaning grant funds to deliver this, which is fantastic because it's innovating, but also looking at whether we can start to apply this deep retrofit, different kind of concepts around the building, this cladding to commercial properties. And we're going to be piloting this on schools as well. And again, we'll be sharing that with partners in the gateway. But just being able to bounce the idea, the Energy Strong concept off of colleagues and partners has been tremendously reassuring in going ahead with a further rollout of another 150 properties. What we've done as part of that, so the kind of knock-on of those discussions, is that we've insisted that the delivery arm for those properties ensures that at the end of this second pilot, they'll get the cost down by around about 35%. So within 2 years, the Energy Strong concept for a domestic dwelling will be significantly cheaper for other housing associations and other organisations who want to follow suit. And hopefully we'll also have a model that's applicable to commercial premises as well.
So, a couple of weird ones. So one that we had in common with Heathrow was beekeeping. Random.
As you do.
So we wanted to have a sustainable product, and we wanted to create our own honey and use that within our restaurants and things like that, especially at our Gogarburn site in Edinburgh, because it's a massive estate. And we were struggling a little bit, and actually Heathrow have their own beekeepers, and we got huge amounts of advice and knowledge, and Withy beekeepers are very passionate and they love their bees and they're very happy to share information. Likewise, I met one of Wayne's colleagues, Laura, at the Knowledge Share event, and she was talking about a problem she was having with a particular innovation, and it was actually a Chalmer valve that an ETRV that we'd looked at, we'd actually done a really good trial on previously, so we straight away, well, I've got the business case, I've done it, I've done the case study, you don't need to do anything, so let's just send it over. So, but it is that constant dialogue and those constant open conversations that you just find, actually, we're all kind of looking at similar things, and it does really help.
And for me, it's we're sitting down with Heathrow and look at artificial intelligence. So we probably get 1 billion points of data daily into operating centre. And I've had lots of people come and tell me how they can save me lots of money through machine learning and artificial intelligence. And myself and the guys from Heathrow have been sat down and talking about our approach and what we're doing and who they've been speaking to. And just sharing our learnings from that, because it's never as easy as everybody comes and sells you in the sales pitch. So.
Great. Are there any other examples you want to share that you have either picked up through the gateway or breakthroughs you've had outside of the gateway to great success inside your organisations that we can share with the audience today?
I think the one that you've recently been doing as part of the Innovation Gateway was around, a number of us are trying to tackle the plastics issue. So the lovely Mr. Attenborough has really made his position very clear on that, and we're all sort of stepping up to the mark. But how do you do it? How do you even start? It's a really difficult thing to do in your offices. And the Innovation Gateway have kind of said, okay, look, let's all come together and get our heads together, and actually let's just try and work this out. And I think that's a really good example, and I know we're probably going to look at something similar with paper as well, so we've all got paper challenges. Having done the Gateway now for a number of years, we've done so many trials, I've lost count, but we've got some excellent ones. So one of my innovators is a company called BlockDocs. Actually, they were here a minute ago. So they're helping us look at what the branch of the future looks like. So everyone's banking slightly differently. So it's more digital, it's more online. They're using their apps. They're not using their branches as much. And so BlockDocs are helping us determine actually how do they use our branches. So do we need to close more tills and have more paying in machines, and it's that kind of stuff that's really valuable to us, because we're constantly redefining what our branches should look like for our customers. So it's those kind of innovations that are great.
We'll open the floor up to questions in just a moment if we let Kevin and Wayne answer this, and we'll open up.
Yeah, one for us that we are actually quite excited about is using plastic additives in tarmac. There's an area in Scotland where they've been doing it on highways, where they use 8% plastic additives, but the plants need to be modified so that you can process it. So we've trialled it in Scotland, and if you take a 16,500 square metre car park, you save roughly about 1 million bags for life. So we've managed to work with some processors down south, where we're able to trial this plastic. So we've done it in Dumfries and it works really well. So we're looking to roll that out and work with our suppliers so that we can actually start to get within 3 hours of the plant around the UK, because we do resurface quite a lot of car parks every year.
I think one of the other advantages of the gateway is being able to react quickly as well to changes in legislation or movements in the market. And one development we've delivered on internally is on the back of the heat metering and billing regs from 2014. So obviously with smart meters, electricity and gas and such like, there was a gap in the market around heat networks. We developed a unit internally, a smart monitor called the EE monitor, which could be applied to domestic again or commercial premises for understanding the usage, being able to top up if people were topping up and purchasing that heat, and also gathering data. So a significant amount of data has come on the back of that smart unit, enabling us to understand trends and also link that with other, other public sector units, public health and such like, and helping to manage some of those budget costs by smart monitoring in a property. We're selling that unit nationally now, and again, utilising the Gateway's contacts in that, working with housing associations, Peabody Housing Association, Genesis, others in and around London, as well as even up in Scotland. So the breadth of the country are utilising a monitor that's been developed in Nottingham, but is fulfilling requirements of legislation. And again, having partners to bounce that thinking off has been really rewarding.
Brilliant, thank you. Are there any questions out across the audience? Raise your hand if there's any questions. Otherwise, I have a couple more that we can pick up. Was there anything that came through on the...
There is. Yeah. Are you happy for me to...
Sure.
Yeah, so there's a couple that's come through. What are the panellists' favourite tools to get their staff to come up with innovative ideas?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Let's put you on the spot.
So we actually worked with a company called Jump, who is a behavioural change programme to helping us understand how we can reduce our plastics and basically the impact out the environment we're having on the environment. So we use that as a company to kind of drive how do we get better at being more environmentally friendly. So we literally had a whole programme of works put in place. We awarded with keep cups and water bottles, and they got points for doing certain things if they didn't print and that kind of thing. So that was a really positive way of getting that message out there. We're constantly just doing things internally just to try and get people's buy-in. It's something that, especially I'd say, sort of, you know, the younger generation that are coming in, they're very aware of the impacts that we're having on the environment and, you know, obviously with all the things around, you know, planet Earth and all that kind of stuff, they are really looking at the bigger companies now as to how to make those kind of changes. So we're having to have those constant conversations internally.
I think we've got 6 teams covering broad range of energy and sustainability issues. So it's unusual, and because of where we sit and how we operate, we support through a lot of networks. So getting staff to attend those networks and plug into what others are doing, as well as the Gateway, we're in partnerships such as the Association of Public Service Excellence, APSI, and the Local Government Association, and attending those sessions with other colleagues who are working on similar challenges and being in that space to innovate and think about things a little bit differently is really helpful and rewarding for those staff, and also the arena that they're working in. So again, enabling some of that time away from those commercial returns and the pressures we're under, enabling some of that time in those teams' diaries to get together and again think about problem solving and coming up with solutions that then get pitched in a Dragon's Den style format to the management team we have internally. So there's a kind of little bit of a reward process for coming up with an innovation. And again, that links back to the Gateway, because the innovation sessions that they host, where innovators come in and pitch their ideas, is very much that kind of format. Turns over quite quickly. Someone's pitching the idea, and hopefully it's getting a kind of endorsement or a challenge from those partners who are sat around the room.
Thank you very much. Did you want to answer that question as well, or shall I move on to the next?
No, I'd move on to the next one.
Okay, so this is a good question, particularly given that the theme for today is collaboration. Some corporates can be wary of collaboration and sharing with others and shy away from change. What would you say to potential partners who are sceptical about the benefits of collaborating in the way that you have been within the Gateway to convince them?
I think personally we've not found that at all. I think that's been one of the great things, because it's you know, they're environmental. It's about being more sustainable. There's not really any competition there. We all have a responsibility to ensure that our buildings are better. So for us, it's more the difficulty of how do we do it. You know, we keep trying to reduce our energy costs, and you know, a number of us have really huge retail properties as well. So we need that extra help. We welcome that extra help. So that's something definitely I've never found with any of the partners. They don't shy away from anything. They literally share everything, because we all benefit in the long run. So
my personal view is we have to work with others. We're Innovation Gateway, but we've got the Energy Forum for retailers, where we'll sit down with our competitors. As long as you don't share financial information,
yeah.
And you share the ideas. So my team's got a challenge that to absorb inflation, we have to reduce energy consumption by 22% in the next 3 years. I don't know anybody who can sit in a room and work with themselves. You're going to have to get out and share and get ideas from others. Otherwise, you won't be successful.
Henry, oh sorry, I'll come back to you. But Henry, I know you're the moderator, but I don't see why that question can't be put to you as well.
So, I mean, it's interesting. So it's a really powerful community. We talk about the power of many because the partners really do work in a very different way. The kinds of conversations they have with each other are really very much about how do we work together and use the collective strength of our group to address some of the biggest challenges that we just couldn't solve on our own. And actually what we want to do is find the other people who share this common ground and have something to contribute and able to work together with us. And that might be another bank, it might be another retailer, it might be another council, it might be someone from somewhere else. And in many cases, the really good ideas, some of the things that come through the Gateway, we're not going to keep them a secret for very long. Taking Ellie's example this morning about the faster horses, the first person driving a car around isn't going to keep it a secret for very long before everyone else on their horses starts pointing and thinking, what's that? And a lot of the partners actually relish taking this leadership position and demonstrating their willingness and appetite to work together and find these solutions, get the knowledge, take that risk on behalf of the partner group and industry more broadly to find the solutions, get those out there. And in many cases, they're able to out-execute because they're part of that development. The solutions that they're finding are honed and tailored for their needs so that the next people who come along or people who wait will just need to fit what's there. And so it's really at the heart of the Gateway is the trust and the integrity of the group and the willingness to contribute and be a part of it. And we can tell very quickly within the group that it's much better working together. And I'm humbled so many times in our steering group meetings when the partners really go out of their way to support each other and think about who you might expect to be competitors and suggesting that we should bring them in because actually they're really good as well. And we'll only be able to do this by bringing the right people together and working together in this pre-competitive way.
I think you proved that at the Plastics Challenge as well, because it wasn't just partners. You invited a number of other companies, so Sky were there, Greenpeace were there. There was
World Wildlife Fund, WWF, and Canary Wharf Group, and
so
others.
many people. So everyone is having the same conversations. They just don't know where to start sometimes. So I think that was a really, excellent point actually, is that everyone wants to know how to do it. So I've got a 40% reduction in energy. I've got an even tougher job. So we can share the knowledge. But it's those kind of conversations that we do need to keep having because everyone feels it.
So I can see the flashing.
It's flashing and it's gone.
Says,
people can't say it's flashing and it's gone orange. So I think it means something.
It's the end of time. So let me take the opportunity to say thank you very much to our partners, to Kevin, to Joe, and to Wayne, and also say that there are some postcards. So the Innovation Gateway is invitation only, but If you think that you share some of the common ground with the partners, then we certainly welcome you being a part of it and collaborating and working with the partners. Some of my colleagues are going to be just outside there with some postcards, picking out some of the key challenge areas. You're very welcome to complete those, leave them with the team, and we'll be very happy to share some of the best innovations and examples and outcomes the partners have had that might just help you inside your buildings and organisations. So thank you very much to the partners.